And entrepreneurship is a journey that gets you to become a better version of yourself.
And we are live. Hi, everyone. Welcome to episode 3 of Entrepreneurs Give Weekly Advice. I'm very excited today. I have Othamane Rhazi from the Clef. I hope I'm pronouncing it right.
That's correct.
Just for anyone who's new, my name is Chris. I started a business recently, a few months ago. I'm still learning a lot. My business is actually picking up a little bit, but the best way for me to learn is to interview these guys that are already successful. They know what they're doing, learning from the best and putting their advice into practice. I hope the show helps you. Please like, share, subscribe. So yeah, you get it. Othmane, hello.
Hi, Chris. Hi, buddy. Thanks for having me.
Good. For many people that don't know, actually, Othmane was the first guest I ever had. It was supposed to be episode 1, but yeah, I didn't get the format right. Othmane gave me advice actually on how to do it. That system I'm following now. And he said he'd come back when I got everything ready, and here we are. Man, how are you?
Good, Chris. I'm pretty good. How about yourself? Yeah, I hear you're doing good.
Growing. We'll get into that in a bit, but for everyone who doesn't know you, quick intro about yourself, and then I can't wait until you tell us your story of this year. It's really great.
Sure. Well, my name is Othmane, as you said before. I'm as I like to call myself, an entrepreneur and a hustler, and I sum it up as being a growth life hacker. Because as an entrepreneur, I'm always seeking growth, and when you're an entrepreneur, you're also seeking hacks. Finding little tips and hacks that makes you like achieve the next step and go through the next step, whether in your personal life or in your professional life. So yeah, I'm multiple entrepreneurs. I had different endeavors and different projects or startups. Some I sold, some I failed, some I can, between brackets, call succeed in. I've been into energy, I've been into fashion, I've been into fintech, and right now I'm into collaborative economy. So that's a quick intro about what.
Damn.
It's a wide scope. It's a wide scope. Yeah.
Yeah. Man, well, I know your story. I'm very excited to hear it. But
sure.
Just one question before that: how do you jump into so many different, I want to say, genres, but industries?
Yeah, sure. Well, the main thing that drives me and has always, been keeping fueling me is curiosity. I'm this type of entrepreneur that always seek opportunity and is voraciously curious. So whenever I see an opportunity within a market, I deep dive into it and I try to find a problem or a case to crack. And once I do, or I believe I do, I invest my whole core in it to make sure and to prove myself either wrong or right about the assumptions I made before. So curiosity was what drives mostly the fact that I've been in different what we call genre or different sectors or different industries. I've myself enjoyed very much fashion, as I've been mainly into the events industry, and then I've moved into the fintech because I have a financial background. I graduated from UC Berkeley in a sec in entrepreneurship and finance with 2 majors, and also in energy because my homeland, which is Morocco in North Africa, is mainly leading the energy, how can we say it? The energy pioneering and the solar energy, the renewable energies. And I've been, into it very early on. So I found this as, again, an opportunity within the market, and I jumped right into it. And then back here again, the collaborative economy as an opportunity in a case to crack. And then there you go.
Yeah. Well, in terms of energy, I'm sure in Morocco there's going to be a lot more heat, than in Paris,
Yes, for sure. Yeah. I just came back from there like a couple of days ago, and it was 28 degrees. Perfect sun. Perfect.
Why did you leave?
Well, I gotta go back to work, man. Gotta go.
Yeah, of course. All right. Well, and the question I typically ask here is, what's a hard situation you had to climb out of, and what's an outrageous kind of business story? But I guess if you could just tell us kind of your whole flow from the beginning of the year to now, that kind of answers both of these questions, So
yeah, sure.
Yeah,
sure. Well, this year for everybody has been hectic. It's 2020 has been a black swan year. It was totally unexpected, totally totally unpredictable, overwhelming for a lot of businesses, and so it has been for E.G.W.A too. So we started a year in a pretty good growth dynamic as we used to, and then boom, March we've seen like confinement happening, the pandemic taking a wider and deeper level and expansion in the area, and we obviously we're dependent on a B2B exposure. So main our clients are offices. And when we had the global shutdown, we went from a nourished growth to basically zero in terms of revenues. So that was a big blow. And when you're an entrepreneur, when you see yourself going really like in front of a wall, you gotta react and gotta react fast, especially if you have like small means. And we were absolutely under constraint because we have like employees. We've been invested in this business for now more than 2 years, and we didn't want to like just go like under the mat because of a crisis. So we decided that we need to act and act fast, and we tried to approach the situation with a very rational standpoint, and we said, okay, what are the assets we have? How can we bounce on the assets we have and the market we're facing? And basically, what I deeply believe is that every crisis either creates or strengthens, what we call arbitrage situations. And we at E.G.W.A, for the background, we are like mainly evolving in the cleaning industry. So we basically kind of are an Uber for B2B cleaning. We connect independent contractors.
You were that before the pandemic as well.
Absolutely. That's our core business. We connect independent contractors that are specialized in cleaning with offices that need cleaning services with a free, affordable offer in general, and very flexible one. And we realized that we have assets in our warehouse that were masks and cleaning products, sanitizing products, and we also had among our pool a know-how for people who do deep cleaning, sanitation cleaning, decontamination cleaning. And we said, okay, you know what, let's see what we can offer to the market right now, because it was scarce at the moment. It was very the demand was flying very high, and within 48 hours we've built a whole new website under the name of E.G.W.A, and we launched two things. We launched a specialized offer for COVID-19 cleaning to make sure that all the offices that were open, all the environments that were still open, and namely hospitals, like construction companies, and so on and so forth, are able still to run. So we cleaned their offices, we cleaned hospitals, we cleaned elderly houses, and we also supplied nearly a fourth of the CAC 40, which are the 40 best or biggest company in France, with the supplies, with the masks, with the gels, with gloves, with everything they needed. And basically it was our pivot that allowed us to really bounce back on the situation, given the assets we had at that time. So we ended up doing around 1.2 million in 2 months, and that really saved our assets.
Obviously, like I heard the story before, and almost just want to kind of, as the show develops and the different people that I have on, if anyone can beat 1 million in 2 months, then please contact us, because right now Othmane is way at the top there.
No, we're still very small, we're still very humble. It was the right time, the right moment. We had the right assets to be able to bounce back. Nonetheless, what the main teaching, or the main takeaway from that experience is that you really gotta be you gotta have grit, like really fundamentally. You gotta have grit inside yourself. You gotta keep faith, because you are the main driver. You are the main leader. When you're CEO of the company, or with your co-founders, you're the main drivers of the company, of its vision, of its dynamic, and you cannot allow yourself to crumble. And then you gotta try to understand the market and rationalize your situation. What are the things you can act about? What are the things you cannot act about? And then the things you can act about, how you can act fast, accurately, bootstrapping, and have a stellar execution in it. And that's what really helped us like bounce back in this situation.
Some of the guys in the previous episode that I had, I really starting to hear that, all of the successful people kind of have the same principles, and a lot of it is about being able to pivot, really kind of depending on the situation, really hard work and having faith. And I think faith is, I'm new in this business now, but when I was successful kind of in my previous job, then if I would make goals or whatever about that, I always have faith and kind of just have this image of myself and really believe in that,
That's
like visualize it, see it, do you do a lot of that?
100%. I do I indeed do visualization. It's very
Yeah.
important. It's very important to project yourself. It's very important also to meditate.
Yeah.
When you're at the forefront of a company or the forefront of a vision or a project, you gotta project yourself, and things will never be as you've projected them. 100%. That's like, and take it into like experience talking, but at least you gotta take into account the different sideways that you can face, the different things going south, and you plan for them, and you're able to act on them once they happen, and you're much more prepared on a psychological level.
Yeah.
And having faith, it's that deep conviction. Whenever you think and you're fundamentally convinced by the case you're solving, by the impact you're having, by the value you're creating, that keeps fueling in you, and that keeps you going, and among and against everything that you're facing, because you will have bumps along the road, but you will bounce back on them, and for the better, for the greater good, as we say.
Yeah, like if you don't give up, then technically you haven't failed.
Well, that's true. I mean, it's failure. I've had my fair share of them, and I still think I will have a fair share of them. But you need to fail, because but whenever you fail, what's fundamentally important is to understand why you failed. We have a saying at E.G.W.A. We say, we can fail often, or as much as we have to, but we can fail once, not twice. Because when you fail once, between bracket, that's an error. That's something you haven't known before, that you came across, that you didn't manage well. But the main thing is that you have to improve your learning curve within a specific error to not make it a failure or long-lasting failure. So the failure helps you to has these two subsequent things, which are, it helps you to get humble, because you got to be humble in your life, and second of all, it helps you to learn. So the more you fail, and the more you're in that mindset where, okay, why did I fail? What are the little things that that I didn't see? What did I do wrong? What are the key learnings that I can have? And that you take act onto them, into them. Well, you're not going to repeat them again. And if you don't repeat them again, you've added to your whole learning curve like a huge step that helps you to get better for future endeavors and projects.
Yeah, no, definitely. Great advice. And I found myself as well, kind of based on what you said as well, of just like Arnold Schwarzenegger has it in one of his like 6 rules of life. And it's just kind of that, I think it's rule number 2. It's don't be afraid to fail.
Exactly.
Where it's kind of that, if you constantly think like, oh, this is bad, like you're attracting that projection, like kind of we spoke about earlier. You're kind of going towards that, where if you would replace that with something like, no, have faith, I've done it, you kind of push more towards that. Like, do you have experience with this?
Absolutely. I would say it's okay to fail, and I can tell myself that it's okay to fail if I learn. The worst case scenario is to fail and to absolutely not learn anything, and to fail again with the same mistakes that you've done before. This makes you dumb. This makes you not worth the time, nor the experience, nor the investment. But if you fail and you learn, well, hopefully you've become much stronger. It's not as if you were training. Once you start boxing a little bit, and then you take the first punch and you take the first hit, because you didn't see it coming, or you didn't have the right reflex to skip it. Well, it hurts, and it hurts a lot. But then you say, okay, how come I didn't see it? Well, next time, whenever he does like that kind of reaction, I gotta prepare myself to skip. So next time he throws a punch on you, you just skip it, and that makes that is learning, that is experience, and that's what makes you a better person. So it's okay to fail, it's okay to take hits in life, as long as you learn out of them to become a better person or a greater self of yourself.
Yeah, but it's also sometimes you draw, what is the level of failure? Is it, okay, let's say your business is going down, for example, and you had $20,000. Now, okay, you keep pushing. Now you, instead of 20, you have about 10,000 left. Okay, and do you then go and get a part-time job to kind of keep doing that and your business at the same time, or do you wait till your balance hits zero and then what's the?
Well,
I saw it. It sparked something there.
yeah, it's not it's I'm gonna be pretty extreme in this, but this only applies to me. We all have different threshold of
This is
pain.
what we want on the show. This is what we
Yeah,
want. Please
no,
unleash
sure,
it.
sure. We all have different thresholds of pain we can sustain and pain we can endure. For me, that threshold is very high. I can like nearly go eating on $1 a day, like nearly going bankrupt if again I have the conviction and I have the a deep faith in what am I doing, on the impact of what I'm building, on the value on which I'm providing. But that's very different from a person to another. And it depends also in a situation. When you're in your 20s, you're engagement free. You don't have any kids. You don't have a wife. You don't have you're not providing for people. You're only providing yourself. So if you eat pasta every day for like 6 months, ongoing, that's only for yourself. Nobody's seeing you what you eat day and night. So you can sustain yourself. You can even like sleep over at friends, or like
Yeah.
go to a different country, build your company from remotely. But we can all go in different states given our constraints. And my constraints are not the same as the others, and the others are not mine. You evaluate the situation given 2 points: the constraints you have to solve, whether it be kids, whether it be your education, whether it be you have a mortgage or no, whether it be you have like a student loan or no, and also your ability to suffer and to endure pain for how long. Some people are, and this is also something that we call for in E.G.W.A, where one of our main values is resilience, and it is very fossilized in our like culture, because we're in an operation intense business. And when you're an operation intense business, you're aiming for the long run, and it is always hard. There are everyday hazards that make the situation, sometimes worse, even horrible. And you gotta be a marathonian in your run. And if you're a sprinter, you cannot do it. And some people are very good sprinters, but then they shouldn't run marathons. And some
Yeah.
people cannot be good sprinters, and they're pretty good for doing a marathon. So you got to know which kind. And some people don't run because they cannot run. They hate running, and they're not able to run. You got to know if you're able to do the job, if you're able to do greatly the job on a daily basis, and if you're able to do it in a long run. And that really depends from a person to another. So you got to really be sincere with yourself. And it's okay to assess what type of person you are, what type of pain you can endure, what type of investment you can commit. And then if you want to act on it and change, you absolutely can do so, but that takes time, determination, grit, and motivation. And one of the main examples that also fuels me a lot, and it's something that it's someone that I think is absolutely top notch in terms of mental toughness and of mental motivation, is David Goggins. That's a guy that was weighing like 160 pounds that went like to become a Navy SEAL. He was coming from like a completely disastrous background, both on a personal level, familial level. And that guy like became a Navy SEAL. He was 160, 80 pounds. And he had 3 hell weeks. He ran 100 miles on broken legs. That tells you the kind of spirit you got to have when you're an entrepreneur.
It's that mentality he has where, like, I saw something with him and he just says, he's like, you can't break me. It doesn't matter
You can
what you
break.
say. Like, you just
Yeah,
can't. Like, anything could happen.
absolutely.
But he's so mentally strong that in his conscious mind, he just realizes, like, I don't have to feel that pain if I don't want to.
Absolutely.
He's become so, I don't want to say enlightened, but to that level of he can choose completely how he feels because he understands how that projects to what he's going to get
Absolutely.
next in his
Uh,
life. It's
Absolutely,
it's
absolutely.
incredible.
He's on a real other level of mental toughness, and he's someone I would strongly recommend to everybody who needs motivation, who needs to find back the grit, and who thinks he's feeling pain. Because when he has a book, I mean, his book is called "Can't Hurt Me." David Goggins, "Can't Hurt Me." And that in that book, he narrates his story from the very beginning of his childhood to his state right now. And when you see the kind of pain that guy has suffered, the condition he's been through, you just say to yourself, whatever pain you're going through, you're just a punk.
Yeah.
So that you're being able to relativize a little bit and to put things into perspective to help you go through the current hardships you're facing.
I want to just before we run out of too much time, I guess we're about halfway. I actually wanted to ask you a different question based on something that happened to me this week and get your advice on that. I really want to try
Sure.
implement that in the show. But just one more thing actually just popped into my head that I'm rather curious to ask you as well. Is you were talking earlier about, in terms of a sprinter or a marathon runner or whatever, and I've realized as well now it's probably good to figure out what you are good at. And that's what I've been kind of realizing on my journey at the moment. It's like, I'm not good at accounting and stuff like this. I have my own skills, and I'm rather trying to focus that on things that can help the most on that. And then have other people deal with, like the organization and stuff like that. How would you suggest to someone, how do you figure out, maybe it's meditation, whatever, I want to hear from you. How do you figure out what you are good at and how do you apply that?
Well, it's again, it really depends. My way of the kind of general answer to that might be experimentation. To find what you're good at, what you have, what you are predisposed for, and what abilities you have that you can, play with in whatever field you do, is to experience that. You want to try how fast you can run, so go run for a sprint. You want to try how long you can keep on running, so go for a marathon or a half marathon. You want to try to see how strong you can or how long you can focus. Well, take a psychological test, or go play chess, or you want to see what kind of skills you're good at. So try to do design, try to do marketing, try to do accounting, and you would see sometimes things that you absolutely hate, things that you pretty much like, things that you're good at, and ideally is to find a sweet spot between things that you actually like, things that you are good at, and to cross them to find that little sweet spot where you can really deep dive and then become the master of the expert in that field. For example, I pretty much love sales, I love growth, and I love, as I told at the beginning of the show, like I'm a growth life hacker, so I love everything around growth hacking. One of my main mentors is and inspiration is Shan Ellis, for example, or Andrew Chen, and I really take a lot from these guys. And so when you experience that and you try doing that, and this is exactly what allowed us also to make a 1.2 mil in around 2 months, is all the techniques and experience we had before. And you see, okay, I like that, I enjoy doing it. When I'm doing it, I'm good. So I'm going to learn much more to become an expert in what I'm doing. So people started recognizing you for being an expert because at the very beginning, the first signals or the weak signals you had is something you like or you liked, and something that you had above average, results on the starting block. So if you like it, and again, the same rules apply: great determination and motivation. There is one thing that that is an absolute rule in life, is that consistency beats luck. If you're consistent in what you do, if you got the right motivation, if you have the grit to keep on following up with the endeavors you're going through, you can be sure and 100% sure, no matter how long that can take, it can take a year, it can take 10 years, it can take 2 decades, you're gonna be expert in what you do.
Yeah.
There is a rule for that. If you invest 10,000 hours in whatever field you're passionate about or you're interested about, you're becoming a top expert in it. And I'm not talking about 95%, I'm talking above 95th percentile of that. So it's very, very important.
No, awesome. All right, let's move on to the Chris question of the. So a point is this week. The first guy I had on is Ryan Thames, and he's talking a lot like you in terms of you have to learn how to pivot your business, right? And I mean, you gave the best example like that, how you guys pivoted during the crisis and stuff like that, and it came out successful. He told me he had to pivot from his kind of original plan 4 or 5 times until he found something that worked for him, right? So now I've been trying all different angles, and I think now I'm very confident that I have found the thing that, let's say, the model or that kind of, not really demographic, but I got it. Okay. That's the thing. Now it's going to take, if I look at the business bank account, also known as my savings account, I have something that I'm gonna buy, and I really think that it's basically like a wine labeling press, and we have this whole thing about wine labels, and I don't want to give too much away. I'd rather want to do it first, and then I can have you back on and say, man, it worked, etc., etc. But I was thinking though, this is quite gold now, and it will cost, $1,000, maybe a few $1,000s or whatever. But if I would have had this 2 months ago, then I wouldn't be sitting with all the stuff that's not useless, but not moving at the moment, which I did spend a big bulk of investment on in the first place, right? So it's like, and that sucks, but at the same time, grateful to learn. Hey, man, like, for me, I'm thinking like, cool. It just shows you should be more precise with the things that you buy. But it's also buying stock, which you guys have to buy a lot of. What's your kind of advice for me on this?
Well, here's how I say things. My advice on that very specific matter is, to what extent does buying this label helps you get to your end customer? How does that help you sell more products? Is this a branding that's gonna help you better be recognized for the wine you're offering, for the experiences you're offering? Or is it like something that's gonna get into raising the awareness of your brand within the customers, and how much is it going to help you sell your products? This is the main question you got to ask yourself. Is me having this label and me without this label 3 months from now, what is the expected trajectory of the business and the sales, namely? So is this label going to help me, like, very rationalize this? Like, I'm going to buy this label for, I don't know, 2K, for example. Okay, I deem like today I'm selling X amount of bottles or X amount of experiences. 3 months from now with this label, what is the potential value that this is gonna bring? How the sales are gonna grow? What doors is that gonna open? Not only from like a financial background, but if you have this label, can you be within distributors? Can you be within hotels? Can you be within different distribution channels that will recognize you because you have that very label? So you got to think about things. Right now it's you got different stages. Okay, I got the idea, I have a problem, I think I've found a solution, so I'm building a product around the solution. Once I have that product around that solution, I have more or less what we call an MVP, a minimum viable product, and my main focus should be selling that MVP and making sure that there's attraction for that MVP. So is it helping you get that traction for that MVP, which is your product, or is it not helping you get that traction? Because when you get attraction and you're able to sell your MVP, boom, wow, this is like the best thing. You found your product market fit. When you have people within the market that like your product, that are coming for your product for whatever features you have, whether it be the quality, whether it be the label, whether it be the packaging, whether it be the branding, they're coming for you and they want to pay you to get your products. You found a product market fit. And then the next story is to scale that product market fit. So how can you go from 1 to 10 and from 10 to 100? But right now you're from the 0 to 1. And to get into that one stage is to make sure that every penny you're spending, everything you're investing or committing your time in, has not to be perfect, but has to improve your ability to reach that product market fit, aka sell products to your client. Make sure your clients, come for you to your products. So that's the rationale I have.
Yeah, no, perfect. If I just kind of look at, this is the third episode now. If I look at, the first one, the advice I got there, the second, and now this one, like, it's people say you have to surround yourself with people, that are successful and stuff like that. This is my version of that, and just so really enjoy these episodes and all the advice that I get from you guys. And I do genuinely apply it, and I literally see my results grow, so it's really fantastic. So, cool. Cheers. Look at the time. All right.
I would add a little thing that we've skipped before is, because you said like you always get a pivot. Not necessarily. I would beg to differ. You along the way might have to pivot, but it's not a fatality. What you have to be in, and the logic you have to be in, is a lean startup logic. And the lean startup logic is that you build a product and you measure the results of building that product, And once you measure the results about this product, you iterate on that very basis. It's a cycle. So build, measure, iterate, and then it's an ongoing cycle. And the upside of iterating is the more you iterate on products based on a data set or based on data in general, you're able to improve all the little things, all the little tweaks that deceived, that didn't work, that have been hurdles in you reaching the end customers and making the sale. And that's going to help you in getting better. And sometimes along that iterative cycle, for sure, you get a pivot, because you learn that the things you were focusing on are not the things that people want. And you got to be humble on that and listen to your market and pivot. But sometimes it's minor tweaks, and you don't have to necessarily pivot from the market or the value prop you offer into the market, but you got to tweak it and add features or delete some and revamp the whole thing. So this is something that you got to keep on going, because you always try small, build something, try to sell it, measure the results, and then iterate on those results to help you get better.
Kind of what you're saying there, it reminds me of the last episode I did. Bradley John Mitten, he's very big in the wine industry. I call him the James Bond of the wine industry. He's in Monaco. He's very fancy, very, very lavishly living guy. Very, very cool guy. And but the one thing he said, he knows everything about wine, but he just said he had to realize that even though now he's sitting with this monthly budget and deciding what wine to buy, and for him it's like a kid in a candy store, but he has to remind himself that you can't buy the wine that you want. You have to think about what the customers want. Absolutely. Even though it might be, you might see, I don't know, a 2005 French red wine that he knows is good, but the market, it's going to be much favor something that he might even hate.
100%. At the end of the day, if you want to grow and you don't have the luxury of doing otherwise, you get build or offer the products that people want to buy, not the products that you would like to buy. And sometimes this is a confusion we see very early on. So you keep on focusing, for example, you're in the SaaS industry and you build a product and you think, this is the exact way that people would love it because I would have loved to have it this way. And you keep on going, point blank on that. And you end up realizing 6 months from that this is not something that people cared about. And you have cared about the whole different features. And you lost literally 6 months because you didn't ask your customers what they would like to have, what they want. But this for other, on a global scale, can be nuanced, because sometimes, for example, there are companies such as Apple or such as Ford, for example, back in the days, who's, for example, invented the iPad, and people didn't need a tablet. They wouldn't use it. And nobody thought someday he would use a tablet.
Yeah.
But today they're selling millions. So they educated also the customer. They created the need, and that's what made them different. But they have such a gigantic, effect and such a gigantic network and gigantic branding and awareness within the customers that they are able to trigger a whole new behavior. And this is not something you can do at the very beginning. When you're very small, you gotta really listen to your customer, because at the first point and the main priority is to grow. And once you're big, then you can, absolutely influence behavior, because the awareness you've built allows you to do so, because you have a mass effect scale.
Yeah, the dream for me would just be, develop this amazing brand, and it's more that people love your brand, then you can just get whatever wine you want, and it doesn't even matter that they would just buy it, and obviously it's fun to dream, and at that time sure. It's there'll probably be 1,000 decisions that come in, based on what you end up putting on the shelves.
Absolutely. One of the definitions I have of being an entrepreneur is daring life and dreaming the future. Because when you're an entrepreneur, you're absolutely daring every day your life and then the hurdles you're facing. And you also got to be a little bit bipolar, because no matter what all the hardships or the obstacles you're facing, you got to keep on dreaming for the better future and for the vision you have.
Yeah, I mean, please continue.
For sure. It's something very, very important. And in your case, I mean, just like a side note about what you said and getting close to your customers, one thing that might very much work in your industry that I would have done, and then I would suggest, is going through what we call the education-based marketing. You can find a loophole for which your customer don't know anything about wine, and they would love to learn, because we all enjoy
Mm-hmm.
wine. We all like to drink wine because we drink it, like, whether it be for Thanksgiving,
Especially
for New
you
Year,
French
for sure.
guys, you
Yeah,
know.
French people love drinking wine, but they don't really understand the nuances of wine, the different type of wines, the different regions, all the different little tricks that you will be happy to, to share within a dinner, or like to make you appreciate better wine, or to make you like buy better wine, or differentiate better wine, or just be knowledgeable about the matter. And you got a loophole in your industry, and especially in your region, because probably a lot of people buy wine without really knowing what type of cepage it is,
Yeah.
what region is it coming from, how does it taste, what is the color of the robe, what are like the different after aromas you get in your palate. And these people would love to know these kind of things. So if you start just educating these people about like the history of wine, the different regions, how it might taste, how you can make sure that this is a good wine, you're gonna become actually an expert of your industry, and people will value you as an expert. So whenever they're gonna think of like buying wine, they're gonna think of Chris and say, "Oh,
Yeah.
Chris offered this kind of wine." And this is what we call education-based marketing, because you have a whole and you have actually a loophole within your market in which you can educate your potential customers. And once you educate them and you tell them about the whole story, you give them features, you're allowing them to become more knowledgeable. You're gonna build loyalty to your brand, and you're gonna build awareness to your brand that's gonna help you sell more whenever they're gonna need to buy wine.
It's interesting. I was watching this guy on YouTube. You probably know of him, Dan Locke.
Okay, no, no, no.
And here's another title called Boss in the Bentley. Like, anyway, so he's there. I think he's from Hong Kong originally, but he lives in Canada. And then he gives like a lot of different sales tips and stuff like that. And it's quite entertaining, his channel. And then the one thing he said was, people, they don't buy, they buy on emotions. They don't buy on logic. They buy on emotion. They buy on emotion, and they justify it with logic.
Mhm.
If you and he also says that stories really sell stuff, and that's,
Absolutely, 100,
like kind of our brand and where we come from. It's you can see the difference. Like, people, they want to be entertained, like they want to have fun,
Absolutely, and they want to also become more knowledgeable about what they're buying. And to follow up on what you said, there is like the master in that is Simon Sinek, and he has a book that's
yeah.
called Why, and he says vulgarly, people don't buy what you do; they buy why you do it. And if you can explain why you're doing things, it makes you sell and help people buy much faster, much greater, much bigger. And this is ultimately what we're looking for. We're looking to be able to translate that why into the branding we're doing, into the communication we're doing, to make people align with our values, to make people align with our vision of the project, of the market, of the value proposition we're bringing to the market, and ultimately buy.
All right, I'm really dodging the last question. The last question for you is, what are your rules for success? Or what advice do you have for someone starting a business? But just before we go there, I just want to ask you, who is your favorite famous viral entrepreneur?
Well,
Are you a Gary V guy, or what's the?
No, I love Gary Vee to an extent because he's a hustler, and he has that
Yeah,
hustling
he
mindset,
doesn't
and
stop. Like,
he doesn't stop. And this is something I really appreciate, because if you wanna, I really always if you, because all the people I'm inspired from, David Goggins, Tony Robbins, of course Gary Vee to an extent. These are people who have grit, they have motivation, they have ultimately they always want to become a better version of themselves. And if you want to become a better version of yourself, you gotta be in that hustling mindset, you gotta be in that motivation mindset, you gotta be into that consistency mindset, because it's something that's very important. So of course, these are all people. These are all people I get inspired from. There are a lot of other ones too. As in terms of success, I don't think I have the rules, neither the key to success. But what I can find mostly in common, with all the people that I deem have been successful in their life, is I talked about it at the very beginning. Is faith, is having a vision, having an idea about the problem you're solving, having that real desire of having an impact on your own destiny and people's destiny, and making sure that you stay consistent in what you're doing, that you have that grit to follow up in what you're doing, to build an ecosystem, to go above whatever you know the main products you're selling, but to think more on a global scale of what ecosystem you're building. And when you create, something from scratch, you just want to realize its full potential and naively sometimes change the world. And when you want to do that, you think in terms of impact, what impact I'm going to have on people, on the ecosystem I'm building. So I think that on the main characteristics, we can find great motivation, consistency, rationality. Even sometimes you have to be a little bit bipolar in that and act more on your grit, on your gut feelings. And yeah, I would say these are the main characteristics of people that I deem have been lucky and are an inspiration to me.
Have you had situations where maybe even your own personal relationships with friends, or I don't know, girlfriends, whatever, that you've been family, whatever it is, that you've been so like, no, like this is my project. Like this is what I do now. I don't sleep. I do this. I don't give a shit about anything else. Until that's successful, I'm not going to feel good. And that's what I'm doing. Has that kind of, because I'm getting into that where the first 2 months haven't been as successful as I thought. And now I'm getting like in a bit gangster level where I'm like, oh, like, are you coming for dinner? It's like, no, I'm not. I'm
Oh
doing.
boy, oh boy. This
No, no,
triggers
no. Maybe I'm painting the wrong picture.
it triggers a lot of retrospective, and indeed, and it's I was literally sleeping in the office like sometimes for 3 days in a row. Like I would get into the office like at you know Thursday morning. I would get out of the office probably like Sunday afternoon,
Yeah.
and I wouldn't step out of the office until I get my work done. And back in the days when I started started the last business, E.G.W.A, I had my girlfriend, and she was back in the US, and she was always like traveling back and forth from New York to Paris, because at that time I was 100% like committed, working 7 days a week, like maybe 16 to 18 hours a day. So I couldn't move. So thankfully I was very blessed to have someone that have been like sacrificing more than I did at that time. And I still remember one time she came from New York for 72 hours, and I was under so much rush. And she came like from Thursday afternoon, evening, and she was going back on a Monday morning, and I couldn't leave my office. So because I had so much work, I was alone. I couldn't leave my office, and I had
in the zone. Yeah.
And this exactly in the zone. I had a significant other, coming from the Atlantic, going through the Atlantic, coming from me, and I couldn't leave. So I think, I'm thankful. I'm very grateful for that, because I had someone who's very understanding, and she literally stayed with me at the office for the 3 days in a row.
Yeah.
So only going out to like eat lunch, eat dinner, and then back at the office and then sleep. That's it. Period. So I've been fortunate to have someone who understands that, who has understand what I've been going through, who has understand that this is a priority right now, and this is something that I cannot allow myself to deviate from. Because it's very urgent, because there is no alternative, because there is nobody else. And I think I've been fortunate on that, and I'm very grateful for that time, and having someone who understands that these kind of situations. But I know that for a fact that I have friends that have not had the same type of girlfriends, or like significant others, or
Well, I mean, if you're
family, and
embarking,
you just gotta make choices. That's it. It boils down to making choices, and
but
you
then
gotta
again, like
rank your priorities. What's your
yeah, but it's more like, okay, like with me and my girlfriend, like it's working in this sense where it's like, look, I'm going in gangster mode because I want this thing to work, but she gets it. She's like, cool, she
That's it.
helps me where she can. But if I was with a girl that was then not getting that and saying like, oh, stop it, you should do this, you should do that, I think I would probably very quickly be like, okay, like this
Yeah,
isn't
it's a
working,
matter it's a
so
matter of priorities again. What do
yeah.
you value most? Like having a relationship like that's going on a like classic rhythm and dynamic, or building a business that's gonna take you away from that for a certain amount of time. Right now, I'm like the things are running. Like we have a business, we have employees, so I can take more time off. We can travel whenever we want. To an extent, okay, I
But
still work a
you've
lot.
earned that though. You've earned that
Yeah, to
because
an
you
extent,
were in
because
the office from Thursday till Sunday. Like
absolutely, absolutely. Like for literally, and I'm not exaggerating, for a year and a half, 18 months, I was working 7 days a week, at least 16 hours a day. at least 16 hours a day. And in a business that's operation intensive, that's it's an attention whore. You cannot deviate from from your screens, from the customer service support. I was alone. You got to deal with accounting. You got to deal with the operations. You got to deal with the revenues. You got to deal with like the HR. So it was a whole mess that you got to deal with every day and improve it every day. So it was basically you're within a boat and you have a tsunami behind you. You gotta keep on rowing, and if you stop rowing, you're just gonna die. So you gotta keep on rowing, and at the same time making your boat bigger and fancier and much stronger, so that if ever something hits you like 12 months from now, you're gonna be able to stomach it. And then you just like 5 knots from there, you get into a better like weather, and you just see the shore, and then you can just have a little bit of relaxation time.
Yeah, of course. Well, hey man. Okay. Last question. We're finally here. Othmane's rules, advice quickly. Just before we end it off. What did you say to someone, Mister? I want to start a business. What do you tell me?
Well, I would tell you to dare your life, to dream the future, to have faith, to be consistent in what you do until proven wrong or right, and to absolutely believe in yourself, because we are absolutely amazing creatures, amazing species with limitless capabilities. You just gotta become the best version of yourself. And entrepreneurship is a journey that gets you to become a better version of yourself.
Man, beautiful. I want to put that on a t-shirt too. That's awesome.
Sure.
Last segment, Othmane, if anyone wants to find you, do business, how do they get a hold of you?
Sure. Well, LinkedIn is pretty much a platform that I use often. So you can reach me at LinkedIn. You can drop my LinkedIn URL. And there is also my details in it. If you ever need like some business related query, you just send me an email. I'll be happy to reply. I reply pretty much fast.
If Othmane has about 7,000 followers on LinkedIn. It's growing every day. He's actually one of the nice people that reply. Some people you reach out and they just like, no way.
Always happy to help and share. Always happy to help and share.
Awesome.
For sure.
And
you're doing good, Chris.
Okay, cool, man. Guys, as well, please connect with me on LinkedIn. Follow me on LinkedIn. Like, subscribe on YouTube. And man, I enjoyed this so much. Thank you so much.
Likewise. Have a good one, buddy.
You
Cheers.
too, my friend. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye.